day, everybody, respective judges, fellow debaters, and esteemed audience. Today, we are gathered to engage in an important debate on the topic Disciplina o Trauma, the realities of corporal punishment for children in the Philippines. Corporal punishment is the most common form of violence experienced by children. The Committee on the Rights of the Child General Comment defines it as any punishment in which physical force is used and intended to cause some degree of pain or discomfort, however light. Corporal punishment is often equated with spanking, but may also include other physical acts like kicking, slapping, punching, hitting, and burning. The terms discipline or violent discipline are sometimes also used to recognize that physical violence is not the only form of punishment children experience. UNICEF state that both corporal punishment and violent psychological discipline, which includes acts like threats, humiliation, ridicule, withdrawing love, and intimidation, are violations of children's rights, which tend to overlap and frequently occur together, exaggerating the short and long-term harm they inflict. This debate is deeply relevant to contemporary society, especially in the context of the Philippine setting, where corporal punishment remains a controversial method of discipline. This debate today will explore the arguments for and against corporal punishment. The core of this debate lies in the balance between maintaining discipline and safeguarding the well being and rights of individuals, particularly children. Welcome, delegates. We're going to start our session with a roll call. Please do say present if I call your side together with your name. Leader of the Opposition, Kakasu.
Present.
Leader of the Proposition, John Botero.
Present.
Deputy of the Opposition, Son Belch Ripaso.
Present.
Deputy of the Proposition, Dana Peñas.
Present.
Member of the Opposition, Kakasu.
Present.
Member of the Proposition, Clark Takandang.
Present.
Without further ado, let's begin with our first team. On side opposition, we have Kakasu, and on side proposition, we have John Botero. You're debating on an emotion. This House advocates for corporal punishment in the disciplinary practices of children. To proceed, Opposition Kaka, would you like to entertain your resolution?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
Honorable Flourish Policy and Chair Board, in this resolution, we believe that physical, emotional, and psychological damages are and impact are significant and long-lasting consequences of corporal punishment, which ultimately hinder a child's healthy development, self-esteem, and overall well-being. A moral principle that relates to corporal punishment is non-maleficence, which means to do no harm by refraining from providing ineffective or harmful treatments as determined by whether the benefits of treatment outweigh the burdens. This principle emphasizes the importance of avoiding harm to others, both physically and emotionally. Corporal punishment, by causing physical pain and emotional distress such as fear, shame, and low self esteem, clearly violates this principle. Instead of promoting positive behavior, it can lead to lasting harm, damaging a child's mental and emotional health. Corporal punishment, as outlined in the Philippine Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act of 2006, is considered prejudicial and detrimental to the physical, emotional, social, spiritual, moral, and psychological health and well being of children in conflict with the law. The Act explicitly prohibits abusive, coercive, and punitive measures such as beating, cursing, solitary confinement, and degrading punishments like shaving heads or pouring harmful substances on the body. Emotionally, they create fear, anxiety, humiliation, and a breakdown in trust, often causing lasting harms to a child's self esteem and their ability to form healthy relationships. According to Momtas et al. 2017, students noted that corporal punishment exposes learners to shame, anger, sadness, fear, pain, tension, feeling hate to teachers, low self esteem, mental fatigue, and hate to the subject. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful speech. And without further ado, let us invite Prime Minister to the podium. Here. Proposition John, would you like to entertain your resolution?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
So, you may be concerned about the adverse effects of physical punishment, but you should also acknowledge that not all forms of corporal punishment are harmful. There are instances where physical punishment is not abuse, and neglecting it completely disqualifies it from being a responsible and effective disciplinary action. Act utilitarianism posits that action should be evaluated in terms of their outcomes and overall effectiveness. While it may cause temporary discomfort, the proper use of corporal punishment could yield long term benefits such as discipline, accountability, and reducing harmful behaviors. If the benefits outweigh the harm, these outcomes can be considered utilitarian in nature. The argument that corporal punishment violates non maleficence presumes that it causes permanent damage, but this ignores contextual factors like intent, culture, and application. Act utilitarianism evaluates specific circumstances rather than imposing universal moral judgments, endorsing corporal punishment as a means of achieving greater general happiness and reducing harm. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful speech. Leader of the opposition, would you like to rebut Prime Minister?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
Even if not physically damaging, it instills fear without promoting understanding. Corporal punishment can cause long term harm by teaching children that violence is an acceptable solution to problems. Instead of teaching from right from wrong, it often leads to increased aggression and behavioral issues, hindering healthy relationships and self discipline later in life. Psychologically, corporal punishment can lead to trauma, depression, and feelings of worthlessness as well as impair cognitive development and contribute to aggressive behaviors. The damage caused by these forms of punishment is extensive, affecting the overall well being and future development of children. Thank you.
Prime Minister, would you like to say something?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
So, although there may be legitimate concerns about the psychological implications of corporal punishment, it's crucial to differentiate between effective discipline and mistreatment. The use of controlled beatings executed in a calm and deliberate manner doesn't necessarily result in fear, worthiness, or trauma. Overhand or abusive practices are more likely to cause psychological harm than carefully managed discipline designed to teach accountability and boundaries. The idea that corporal punishment leads to aggression or impaired development is an overstatement. Other factors, including context and parenting style, as well as individual temperament, determine the psychological outcomes of children. Rather than outlawing corporal punishment, it's important to educate parents on how to use it wisely and ensure that discipline is thoughtful but doesn't hurt children emotionally. In this approach, both discipline and mental health of children are emphasized. Thank you.
Thank you both for your wonderful speeches. And without further ado, let us now invite Team 2. On side opposition, we have Sunbel Sirpaso, and on the side proposition, we have Dana Peñas. To proceed, opposition Sunbos, would you like to entertain your resolution?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
Our house stands for protecting children's rights and well being. We oppose corporal punishment because it exploits a power imbalance, instills fear, and causes long term harm. Grounded in consequentialism, this argument highlights the negative outcomes of corporal punishment, including physical and psychological harm, a cycle of abuse, and damage to a child's development. Nonviolent methods achieve better outcomes for children's growth and safety. Organizations like Save the Children Philippines emphasize that corporal punishment violates children's dignity and perpetuates harm instead of fostering understanding and dialogue. With 3 in 5 Filipino children experiencing physical violence, it's clear that this practice erodes confidence and emotional well being. As a society, we must protect children through compassionate and effective discipline. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy of the Opposition, for your wonderful speech. And without further ado, let us invite Deputy Prime Minister to the podium. Here, here. To proceed, Proposition Dana, would you like to entertain your resolution?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
So, this house is the idea that the threat or use of physical punishment will discourage undesirable behavior by instilling fear of consequences. It is based on the belief that children will avoid misbehaving to prevent future punishment. This house often seen as effective in teaching the children consequences of their actions. When children experience punishment, they are more likely to think twice before repeating the behavior. This approach aims to set clear boundaries and maintain discipline. Additionally, some argue that corporal punishment can be a quick and direct way to stop negative behavior and encourage compliance. As it relates to corporal punishment towards children falls under the ethical principle of consequentialism. The idea is that the fear of punishment discourages children from repeating undesirable actions, ensuring discipline and reducing harm to others. This approach prioritizes the practical results of the punishment over intrinsic morality of the act itself. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful speech. Deputy of the Opposition, would you like to rebut Deputy Prime Minister?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
Are you saying that hurting children is the only way to teach them discipline? Corporal punishment doesn't teach children to reflect on their mistakes. Instead, it teaches them to fear authority. Instead of fostering understanding and better behavior, it risks causing long term emotional harm and promoting aggression. There are more effective, nonviolent ways to guide children without resorting to physical punishment. Discipline should guide and not harm. There is no justification for violence against children. Thank you.
Team 2 spoke for 5 minutes and 36 seconds. Thank you both for your wonderful speeches. And without further ado, let us invite our third team, Opposition Kaka. Would you like to entertain your resolution?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
Alternative methods help in building a stronger parent child relationship. When children are disciplined through understanding and communication rather than fear and pain, they are more likely to develop trust and respect for their caregivers. This nurturing environment is crucial for healthy emotional and social development. According to American Psychological Association, nonviolent disciplinary methods promote a more positive parent-child relationship and better long-term outcomes for children. Under the framework of utilitarianism, which emphasizes maximizing happiness and minimizing harm, it becomes clear that alternative methods are more effective than corporal punishment. While corporal punishment may lead to immediate compliance, it often results in long term emotional and psychological harm, such as increased aggression, fear, and resentment. These negative outcomes reduce overall happiness and well being, both for the child and those around them. In contrast, alternative methods like positive reinforcement and open communication are more likely to produce a greater net benefit by fostering healthier emotional development, promoting responsible behavior, and building a positive relationship between the child and caregiver, ultimately creating more lasting happiness and well being. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful speech. And without further ado, let us invite member of the proposition to the podium. Here. To proceed, Proposition Clark, would you like to entertain your resolution?
Yes.
Then you are recognized.
In this resolution, this House believes that corporal punishment teaches children to be accountable for their actions. According to the editors of Procon in 2024, corporal punishment sets clear boundaries and motivates children to behave in school or their respective houses. They argue that children make behavioral decisions better when they understand the penalty that they face for misbehaving, exercise self control, and learn to be accountable for their actions. According to Professor Harold Bennett, children need to understand boundaries and need to understand that there should be punishments in direct proportion to improper behavior. This just explains that corporal punishment teaches children to be accountable for their bad behavior. Secondly, this House also firmly believes that corporal punishment offers immediate consequences in contrast to prolonged punishment, teaching violators quickly. Corporal punishment is often chosen by students over suspension or detention. This is because corporal punishment is a quick punishment that does not cause them to miss class or other activities in contrast to other modes of punishment. This just explains that quick punishments, like corporal punishment, are more effective and quick in teaching discipline because of its immediate effect. A morality principle I can align with our stand is the consequentialism stand, which explains that corporal punishment maximizes good consequences in the future for both the person in authority and the child. It focuses on the outcomes or consequences of the punishment rather than whether the child deserves it. It also operates under the idea that punishment should serve a purpose in shaping future behavior and preventing harm. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful speech. Member of the opposition, would you like to rebut member of the proposition?
Yes,
Then you are recognized.
I see your point, but corporal punishment doesn't protect a child's emotional development. Instead, it can foster a harmful cycle of violence where children who are physically punished may grow up to use the same methods of discipline with their own children, perpetuating the cycle of harm across generations. As these children grow up, they may pass on this behavior to their own children, leading to a repeated pattern of violence, resentment, and fear. This cycle not only harms individual children but also undermines the broader goal of creating a society based on nonviolence and respect. Thank you.
Member of the proposition, would you like to say something?
Yes,
Then you are recognized.
I understand your point, but we should also remember that the different methods we have should also have cultural relevance in our country. And discipline methods must align with our cultural values and our social norms. As we all know, in the Philippines, corporal punishment has been accepted as a mode of teaching discipline in way before the time of our parents and our ancestors. Mild forms of corporal punishment are considered acceptable and an effective way to maintain discipline. If you so argue that importing alternative methods are effective, if we don't consider cultural relevance, they may be ineffective in disciplining children. My second rebuttal is that alternative methods, such as what you have mentioned, positive reinforcement or negotiation, are not universally effective, particularly with children who test boundaries or don't follow instructions or are resistant to non physical discipline. Corporal punishment provides a clear and ambiguous deterrent in such cases. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. As a group dedicated to the well being and development of children, we firmly stand against the use of corporal punishment as a disciplinary measure. The mental and physical health of a children is of paramount importance, and the detrimental effect of corporal punishment far outweighs any perceived benefits. Instead, we advocate for more effective and humane methods of discipline that fosters a nurturing and supportive environment for children to grow and thrive. As a society, we must prioritize the use of positive and constructive disciplinary methods that respect the dignity and right of every child. By doing so, we can create a safer and more compassionate world for our children to grow up in. The debate over corporal punishment for children remains highly relevant in today's society, as it touches on fundamental issues of child welfare, parental right, and effective discipline strategies. While some argue that corporal punishment can be an immediate corrective measure, research increasingly highlights its potential negative impacts, including increased aggression, antisocial behavior, and mental health issues in children. As society evolves, there is a growing emphasis on alternative disciplinary methods that promote positive behavior without physical punishment. As such, the ongoing debate on corporal punishment is crucial in guiding parents, educators, and policymakers towards more humane and effective approaches to child discipline. Thank you.